One thing that I just came in information with is there is a specific location in California, and it is considered a hostile pocket on the Jade Helm map. And now there are multiple banks, and this has been verified, that are closing down the day that the exercises start in Jade Helm exercises on June 16th. I'm going to give you this information right now. It is in Calexico, California. The Bank of America and several other banks are closing on June 16th. And there's even an article right now on the web that's talking about it. This is local news. If you want to check this out, the naysayers out there, the Imperial Valley Press came out with an article. This is a local newspaper in Calexico, California. Calexico Bank's closures, meeting sought. There's a meeting with the federal officials about why all these Calexico banks are closing. So what are your thoughts on that? I mean, do you think that that might actually correlate with the theory of Suzanne Posel? She came out a while ago saying that there's going to be a giant virus that's going to hit the financial markets. And when that happens, get ready, because that's going to be the start of the end.
No, I really don't think so. And here's why. We have a very special event, just like what happened last year when the United Nations went to war against ISIS. That was very significant in biblical prophecy because that activated all the prophecies in Revelation chapter 16, so everything is in play there. So where do we go from there? Chapter 17. Chapter 17 talks about this, the whore of Babylon, Babylon the Great, who rides this scarlet-colored, seven-headed, ten-horned wild beast, and the beast turns on her and destroys her. Now, what people are all paying attention to Jade Helm. What they're totally missing is the post-2015 development agenda, which the 70th General Assembly of the United Nations is going to adopt this year. And the Pope is coming from Italy on the well, I'm not sure exactly what day he's going to land here, but on the 23rd, he's going to be meeting with Obama at the White House. On the 24th, he's going to be standing before Congress at the Capitol, talking to them. On the 25th, he's going to be standing before the General Assembly of the United Nations, blessing off the post-2015 development agenda. And on the 26th, he's going to Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love, to officiate over Catholic Family Day, an event which that's not the actual official name, but that's pretty much what it is. It's an event that happens every 3 years. So he is going to be in the United States in the spotlight, very predominantly, very exposed. And now we have ISIS. Pay attention to this. Hopefully he goes back nice and quietly to the Vatican, and we don't hear any more out of the Pope for a while. But here's the thing. The General Assembly ends on the last blood moon. On the 28th of September is the end of the blood moon. Now, here's also another interesting correlation. We are in what is called the Shemitah year. That it's supposed to be a Hebrew rest year. God told the Hebrews, or through Mosaic law, the land was supposed to rest on the 7th year. And so they had to produce enough in the 6th to last in the 7th year, because no ground was going to be planted, no work was going to be done. Have a good holiday. And that's where we're supposed to be right now. In 7 times 7, you get the 49th Shemitah year, and then you get the 50th year, which is a Jubilee year, which is a year of reset. All the slaves are set free, all debts are forgiven, everything goes back to a 0 point, so to speak. And here, in the Jubilee year, we are getting the why is it post-2015 development agenda. Now, the number one item on the post-2015 development agenda is to end world poverty. Now, here's the thing. 2 years ago, last month, the Pope came out and basically started to attack the Zionist banksters. And he said that we got to get rid of the debt system, plain and simple. In October 3rd, 2013, he wrote a 41-page treatise on how to do it. And now he's coming to the United Nations to bless it off. Well, isn't that the whore of Babylon riding the wild beast of the nations? You can see the control that the Pope has over the world. Now, so where are we set up? Well, it's peace and security time. And whenever it is that they are saying peace and security, then the end is instantly upon them, or will be instantly upon them. So let's see what happens in 2016. I have it on fairly decent authority that we shouldn't see anything really major until the last quarter. Are they going to end the debt system? I don't know. Are they going to end poverty? It's their goal, yes.
Let me jump in here real quick, because I know some of your previous works, you've talked a lot about how you think that Prince Charles is the Antichrist. Is that correct?
When you look at go back to the protocol of the learned elders of Zion. When it turns around and says that we shall choose the king of the world, you read their qualifications for king, and then you look at Prince William and you tell me. It's just that
Okay, so
simple.
Prince William then.
Prince William has
So
all the
you think that
qualifications that are required in the protocol of the learned elders of Zion, and
so
it's quite interesting. His mother was sacrificed.
if he is the Antichrist, then does that mean all of these psyops and everything that's being orchestrated around the world, the great wars, the little wars, basically the drone attacks, the presidential elections, the corporations, the forced vaccinations, you think that that's all controlled by him at some level?
Not necessarily by him, but let's take a look at something that's factual that we can actually point out. His grandmother, the Queen, is a Dame of Malta, a subject to the Pope, a citizen of the Vatican, the same as Nelson Mandela. So where do you think she takes her orders from? And indeed, all roads lead to Rome. Now, when you go back to the start of Revelation chapter 17, it doesn't take long for an eighth king to appear who is only going to be there for an hour. He reigns for an hour, and its only goal is to destroy the harlot. It says it strips her bare, eats her fleshy parts, and burns the rest with fire. Now, if they were going to end religion, and people say, well, how could that possibly be? You go back and you read the United Nations agreement or treaty on freedom of religion. Article 2.1 says that we are free to worship any way we choose, provided that it is not a danger to public safety, as in what Islam has become through ISIS. Now, you want to talk about public safety? Go leave your children or your grandchildren with the local neighborhood priest for a weekend. Would you? No. You wouldn't. Why? Because of all the press that's gone on about pedophile priests. And you look at the work of Kevin Ann and different people which have come forward talking about this stuff, and then you have to question where 500,000 children just vanish off the face of the earth to every year. Are they being sacrificed?
Well, not only that, you know, why is it that they put aborted baby fetuses in Pepsi? Why is it that there's people that come out that say they're hooked up with the elite, the super elite, and they are able to go to snuff parties and they can brag about it on TV, and yet there aren't FBI agents at their doors saying, what the hell are you doing at snuff parties? You know, it blows my mind. And then not only that, if you were to look at some of these, I'm digressing here. Continue, Peter.
Well, yeah, we don't have quite enough time. You see, we're being maneuvered into this because now here's what happens. Religion's destroyed. Do we need religion? Look at all the problems it's causing. Take a look at ISIS. You know, you can't go in the Middle East. Would you go to a cafe and wait for a bomber to come in and blow himself up? Hell no. So we've got an issue here, and the United
Conspiracy
Nations,
theorist.
Yeah, right. The United Nations has now the legal means to turn around and end religion based on a hazard to public safety. Buying, and they put the laws in against extremism. So it's not just against religion; it's against extreme ideas. Oh, I don't like this whole Jade Helm thing. Let's put together a militia and defend ourselves. Well, that's extremism in our view.
Dare
you know?
you think for yourself?
Yeah, exactly. So here's where the whole thing's going. Now, these are the last prophecies that are coming about before the dynamic change. This will all be.
But haven't they always been
removed.
taking place, Peter?
Yeah, but now.
I mean, Peter, if you look at Revelations, I'm sorry, I got to jump in here real quick, because if you look at Revelations and if you read, I've read Revelations probably 13, 14 times, and there's so many different analogies and interpretations you can take. You know, when it talks about the New Jerusalem descending down from heaven, in my opinion,
let's not even go there. Let's not even go there. Hold on for a second, because we're going to run out of time here.
It almost sounds like the Borg cube. Right, but so as far as what you're talking about, it's all based upon different interpretations. So how is that going to affect what's actually taking place?
Let's look at what we know. What hasn't been fulfilled in Revelation is chapter 9, which every time I read chapter 9, I've read it over and over and over. It's an alien invasion of some sort to me. And chapter 17 and 18, which is the end of religion. And then you get to chapter 19, which is the return of the King of Kings, Lord of Lords, and the armies of heaven. Armies of heaven? We got aliens and we got an army of heaven coming toward us. The return of Christ may not be the spiritual event that people believe it might be, but we need that to come in to remove the evil that is controlling this planet. I don't care whether you want to call them the reptilians, the Greys, or whoever they are. It's a multitude of them. It's not just one group. It's a rebellion, and the rebellion has to be removed. And when you look at Revelation 19, there's a judgment that takes place, and it's a judgment against the nations, not the people. Yep, a lot of people die. Look at all the support systems that go into creating war and managing the NSA, the CIA, the FBI, controlling the government that's controlling the people. You see, if you're part of the system, you're on part of the judgment list. If you're part of the people that want a solution, you're on the right path. All we have to do is stay in an attitude of love. Why? Because love takes us out of the beta state of fight and flight where fear lives, and it puts us in a state where we can think consciously for ourselves and we can design our own future. It's also where we pray, meditate, and guess what? It's where we make love too. So that's the key, and it all falls under the greatest commandment. Love Yahweh your God with your whole heart, soul, and mind, and love your neighbor as you do yourself. Because it's in that state that the positive timeline is written, and it's in that state that we can just turn around and say, hey, all of these guys are going away. Don't have any fear. Stay in that state of love. That's why I say love and blessings to all. I think we've just about run out of time.
One thing that I just came in information with is there is a specific location in California, and it is considered a hostile pocket on the Jade Helm map. And now there are multiple banks, and this has been verified, that are closing down the day that the exercises start in Jade Helm exercises on June 16th. I'm going to give you this information right now. It is in Calexico, California. The Bank of America and several other banks are closing on June 16th, and there's even an article right now on the web that's talking about it. This is local news. If you want to check this out, the naysayers out there, the Imperial Valley Press came out with an article. This is a local newspaper in Calexico, California. Calexico Bank's closures, meeting sought. There's a meeting with the federal officials about why all these Calexico banks are closing. So what are your thoughts on that? I mean, do you think that that might actually correlate with the theory of Suzanne Posel? She came out a while ago saying that there's going to be a giant virus that's going to hit the financial markets. And when that happens, get ready, because that's going to be the start of the end.
No, I really don't think so. And here's why. We have a very special event, just like what happened last year when the United Nations that went to war against ISIS. That was very significant in biblical prophecy because that activated all the prophecies in Revelation chapter 16, which so everything is in play there. So where do we go from there? Chapter 17. Chapter 17